Kazakhstan leader orders security forces to kill without warning to quell violent protest. CNN, Kazakhstan President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev has ordered security forces to kill without warning to crush the violent protests that have paralyzed the former Soviet Republic and reportedly left dozens dead. In a defiant public address Friday, Tokayev said the unrest that began earlier this week as protests against the rising fuel prices had been masterminded by well-trained terrorist bandits from both inside and outside the country. Kazakh state media reported Friday that 18 security personnel and 26 armed criminals had been killed in violent protest. More than 3,000 people had been detained. Tokayev said the situation had stabilized in Kazakhstan's largest city, Almaty, and that the introduction of the state of emergency is yielding result. But terrorists continue to damage state and private property and use weapons against citizens, he said. I gave the order to law enforcement agencies and the army to open fire to kill without warning. Unrest breaks out across the Kazakhstan, ignited by the surge in fuel prices. The speech attempted to undermine the narrative that demonstrations were the product of popular unrest that turned increasingly destructive and deadly. Tokayev said the violence was the product of the well-organized enemy, armed with sleeper cells carrying out terrorist attacks, and specialists trained in ideological sabotage, skillfully using disinformation or fakes and capable of manufacturing people's moods. Their actions showed the presence of a clear plan of attacks on military, administrative, and social facilities in almost all areas, coherent coordination of actions, high combat readiness, and bestial cruelty, Tokayev said. They need to be destroyed. However, several protesters who spoke to international media rejected that characterization. We are neither those or terrorists, one woman said. The only thing flourishing here is corruption. We are not those or terrorists. Kazakh protesters responded to President blame. Another man told CNN that people want the truth. The government is rich, but all of these people have been loans to pay. We have our pain, and we want to share it, he said. The demonstrations were the biggest challenge yet to the autocrat rule, with initial public anger over a rise in fuel prices expanding to wider discontent with the government over corruption, living standards, poverty, and unemployment in an oil-rich nation, all of which has been exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic, experts say. This is a government that is highly detached from the reality of what happens on the ground. It is a country where there are no institutions through which to protest. The only route is on the street, Paul Stronsky of the Carnegie Endowment of International Peace told CNN. Protests, unrest in Kazakhstan. Kazakh President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev speaks during a televised address to the nation following the protest triggering by the fuel price increase in Nur Sultan, Kazakhstan on January 7th. Protesters in Almaty reportedly stormed the airport, forcibly entered the government buildings, and set fire to the city's main administration office, local media reported. Dozens were reportedly killed and hundreds more injured in clashes there Thursday. There were also reports of the nationwide internet blackout and damage in other major cities, though Kokayev said the internet was gradually being restored as the situation stabilized. Authorities had previously declared the nationwide state of emergency with a curfew and movement restrictions until January 19, according to local media. Almaty International Airport will be closed until January 9th. Kazakhstan's Ministry of Industry and Infrastructure Development of the Republic of Kazakhstan said, according to state-run broadcaster Kava 24. More than 20 international flights have so far been cancelled. Flight to and from the capital, Nur-Sultan, have been restored, Kava 24 reported. In his address, Tokayev highlighted that peaceful assembly was legalized in 2020 to promote democracy. However, he said calls from abroad to find a peaceful solution were nonsense. What kinds of negotiations can there be with criminals, murderers? Tokayev added. Tokayev said in a contingent of the Collective Security Treaty Organization called CSTO, a Russian-led military alliance made up of former Soviet states, has arrived in the country for a short period of time to carry out the functions of defense and support. The organization's Secretary General Stanislav Jacques told the Russia's state-run English-language Sputnik news agency that around 3,600 CSTO personnel would be deployed to Kazakhstan to protect the government and strategic facilities and help maintain public order. Russian state news agency TASS reported that the brigade of airborne forces have arrived in Kazakhstan. A contingent of 70 IL-76 and 5 AN-124 transport aircraft have been delivering military personnel and equipment to CSTO forces around the clock, the Russian Defense Military said in a statement Friday. Tokayev thanked the heads of CSTO countries for their support and expressed special gratitude to Russian President Vladimir Putin for very promptly and, most importantly, in a friendly manner, reacted warmly to my appeal for a CSTO contingent. The Kazakh leader also thanked Chinese President Xi Jinping, the president of the other CSTO member countries, the president of Uzbekistan, Turkey, and the leaders of the UN and other international organizations for their words of support. Putin spoke by phone with the CSTO leaders Thursday and Friday. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov told journalists on Friday, according to Russian state media. Kazakhstan, the world's ninth largest nation by landmass and Central Asia's the largest economy, has often boosted of its stability in a region that has seen its share of conflict. Even before its independence in 1991, the country's political scene was dominated by one man, Nur-Sultan Nazarbayev, The longtime president and the former Communist Party official ruled for almost 3 decades before stepping down in 2019. His autocratic method of governance sparked international concern and saw authorities harshly crack down on protest, jail critics, and stifle press freedoms, according to global rights groups. Critics accused Nazarbayev of appointing family members of allies to key jobs in government, and his family is believed to control much of the Kazakh economy, Reuters reported. Nazarbayev was best known in the West for renouncing nuclear weaponry and his relocation of the capital to the futuristic city of Astana, which was later renamed Nur Sultan after himself. Amnesty International said the protests are a direct consequence of the authority widespread repression of Beijing human rights. For years, the government has relentlessly persecuted peaceful distant, leaving the Kazakhstani people in a state of agitation and despair, said Marie Struters, Amnesty's director for Eastern Europe and Central Asia, in a statement. CNN's Joshua Bellinger, Helen Reagan, and Tim Lista contributed to this report.